That new car isn't going to cost you $740 a month. It's going to cost you over $250,000. According to Experian, $740 was the average monthly payment for a new car in late 2024. And I'm going to show you how investing that exact amount could be worth over $250,000 to your future self. Most people look at the monthly payment and think they can squeeze it into their budget, but they are missing the massive, invisible cost that is silently destroying their wealth-building potential. Today, we are going to calculate exactly what that vehicle is costing you in lost freedom, and I will give you the specific rules to stop the bleeding. First, we need to establish the immediate loss you face the moment you sign those papers. A new car is not an investment. It is a rapidly depreciating asset. It is one of the few things you will buy in your life that is guaranteed to lose money every single day. When you drive a brand new vehicle off the lot, you are hit with an instant drop in value. According to data from Kelley Blue Book and Edmunds, it is common for a new vehicle to lose between 40% and 50% of its value in just the first 5 years. Think about that for a second. If you buy a car for $40,000 today, in 5 years, it might only be worth $20,000. That is $20,000 of your hard-earned wealth that is simply evaporated into thin air. It hasn't gone into the market, it hasn't gone into your home equity, and it certainly hasn't gone into your retirement account. It is the price of that new car smell, and it is a price that most people simply cannot afford to pay if they are serious about building long-term financial security. But the depreciation is just the beginning. The real pain comes from the monthly cash flow drain. We need to anchor this discussion to a real number, not a hypothetical one. This isn't a made-up figure for the sake of a video. Data from Experian shows the average new car payment recently hit $740 per month in late 2024. This is the core number for our analysis today: $740. For many families, that is a grocery budget. For some, it is a significant portion of their rent or mortgage. And for millions of Americans, it is the amount they are voluntarily handing over to a lender every single month for the privilege of driving a depreciating asset. When you commit to a $740 payment, you're not just spending money. You are locking up your future cash flow. You are signing a contract that says, I promise to give you this huge chunk of my income for the next 60, 72, or even 84 months, regardless of what happens in my life. Now, let's look at the opportunity cost. This is where the math gets truly shocking. We need to look at what that $740 could have done for you if it wasn't tied up in steel, rubber, and plastic. Let's assume, instead of making that car payment, you took that exact same $740 and invested it. We will use a standard, boring investment vehicle, a simple S&P 500 index fund. Using the S&P 500's historical 20-year average return of 9.8%, a figure derived from S&P Dow Jones Indices data ending in 2023, we can project the growth of that money over time. We aren't trying to beat the market or pick winning stocks here. We are just capturing the average growth of the American economy. If you invest $740 a month for 20 years at that 9.8% return, do you know what you end up with? That $740 a month doesn't just vanish. It could have become over $250,000. Specifically, the calculation brings us to just over $252,000. That is the wealth you are trading for a car. When you sign that loan agreement, you are essentially saying, I value this vehicle more than I value having $250,000 in my investment account in 20 years. Put that way, the decision looks very different, doesn't it? It stops being about whether you can make the monthly payment and starts being about whether you can afford to burn that much future wealth. Now that you understand the true cost, let's talk about the simple rules to avoid this trap. The math is clear, but how do you actually avoid this trap in the real world? It comes down to two simple rules. These are not vague suggestions. They are mathematical boundaries designed to protect your wealth from your own psychology. The first is what I call the 8% rule for transportation. This rule is your shield against overspending. It states that your total transportation cost, and I mean everything, the car payment, the insurance premiums, the fuel, and the maintenance, must not exceed 8% of your gross monthly income. Most people only look at the payment, but the insurance and gas are mandatory costs of operating that vehicle. If you ignore them, you are lying to yourself about affordability. Let's ground this in reality. For someone on the median U.S. salary of about $60,580 per year, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Q3 2024 data, their gross monthly income is roughly $5,048. If we apply the 8% rule to that median income, their total transport budget should be just $403 per month. That is not a lot of money. In fact, it is barely half of the average new car payment we just discussed. This highlights the massive disconnect between what the average American earns and what the average American drives. If you are earning the median salary and driving a car with a $740 payment, you are mathematically guaranteeing that you will struggle to save for the future. You are allocating way too much capital to a losing asset. The second rule is designed to help you catch up if you are behind or accelerate if you are ahead. It is called the 15% raise rule. The concept is simple but powerful. Whenever you get a salary increase, you automatically invest at least 15% of that raise before it ever hits your checking account. You don't let that money become part of your lifestyle. You direct that 15% into your retirement accounts, like your 401k or a Roth IRA, up to the IRS limits of $23,000 and $7,000 respectively for 2024. By doing this, you prevent lifestyle creep, the tendency for our spending to rise to match our income. You treat that raise as a tool for wealth creation, not a ticket to buy more stuff. Let me know in the comments. Have you ever felt that pressure to upgrade your car right after getting a raise? Just type guilty or nope. I think many of us have been there. It is a natural human instinct to want to reward ourselves for hard work, but we need to channel that reward into assets, not liabilities. To see how these rules work in the real world, let's follow the journey of Michael. Michael is a 30-year-old project manager living in Chicago. He is doing well for himself, earning $75,000 a year. His living expenses are around $4,000 a month, which aligns with the cost of living data for a single person in Chicago renting a decent one-bedroom apartment. Michael is diligent, but he is also human. Recently, he got a promotion. His salary bumped up to $85,000 a year. That is a $10,000 raise, bringing his gross monthly income to about $7,083. He feels great. He feels successful, and immediately the cultural pressure sets in. He looks at his old car and thinks, I'm a manager now. I should drive something that reflects that. He heads to the dealership and spots a brand new SUV. It's sleek, it has all the technology, and the leather smells perfect. The dealer runs the numbers and tells him the payment is $740 a month. Michael does the mental math. His raise gave him an extra $833 a month before taxes. The car is $740. In his mind, he thinks, I can afford this. My raise covers the car payment with room to spare. This is the trap. This is the moment where millions of people make a mistake that sets them back by a decade. But Michael stops. He remembers the framework. He decides to run the numbers against the rules before signing anything. First, he applies the 8% rule to his new $85,000 salary. He takes $85,000, multiplies it by 0.08, and divides by 12. The calculator shows $567. That is his maximum budget for everything. Payment, gas, insurance. The SUV payment alone is $740. That is already way over the limit, and that doesn't even include the Chicago insurance rates or gas prices. He realizes that even though he feels like he can afford it, the math says this car will suffocate his cash flow. Next, he applies the 15% raise rule. He got a $10,000 raise. He takes 15% of that, which is $1,500 a year, or $125 a month. He logs into his company's payroll portal and immediately increases his 401k contribution by that amount. He pays his future self first. Now he has a clear picture. He cannot buy the $740 SUV. It simply doesn't fit the math of a wealthy life. So, what is the outcome? Michael walks away from the deal. It is hard, but he does it. Instead, he looks for a reliable, 3-year-old vehicle. He finds a great car with a $350 monthly payment. He estimates gas and insurance will cost another $200, bringing his total to $550. This fits comfortably within his $567 budget derived from the 8% rule. But here is the magic part. He doesn't just spend the difference. He takes the money he would have spent on the SUV, $740, subtracts his actual payment of $350, leaving $390. He adds that to the $125 from the raise rule. That is $515 a month that he is now investing into the market. By making one decision to follow the rules, he is now building wealth at a rate of over $6,000 a year, compounding at that historical 9.8%. In 20 years, that decision alone will be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to him. He chose freedom over a hood ornament. We've been focused on one person's decision. Now, let's zoom the camera out and see what this looks like for the entire country. So Michael made the smart choice. But what does it look like when a whole country makes the wrong one? The national picture is even more shocking. This isn't just a personal finance issue. It's a systemic wealth trap that is keeping an entire generation from achieving financial independence. When we look at the macro data, we see a terrifying trend. According to Experian, total U.S. auto loan debt has ballooned to over $1.56 trillion. That is trillion with a T. That is a colossal amount of money that is tied up in assets that are rusting, wearing out, and losing value every single day. We as a nation have leveraged our future to pay for transportation today. We are financing our commute with our retirement. This massive debt load is a primary reason why so many families feel like they are living paycheck to paycheck, even when they earn good salaries. They aren't broke because they don't make money. They are broke because their money is going to the bank to serve as debt on depreciating metal. And while we're taking on that debt, the Bureau of Economic Analysis reports that the personal savings rate is hovering at a dangerously low 3.4% as of the third quarter of 2024. Think about that contrast. We have record levels of auto debt and near record lows in savings. The average American is saving less than 4 cents of every dollar they earn, while simultaneously carrying thousands of dollars in high-interest car loans. This is a recipe for disaster. If a recession hits, if a job loss occurs, that 3.4% savings buffer will burn up in weeks. But the $740 payment will still be due on the first of the month. The repo man does not care about the economy. This national trap is why the framework we discussed is so critical. The system is designed to sell you payments, not to build your wealth. The marketing, the culture, the peer pressure, it is all pushing you toward that $740 payment. By following the 8% rule and the 15% raise rule, you are personally opting out of this national statistic. You are declaring that you will not be part of the $1.56 trillion debt bubble. You are choosing to be part of the minority that builds assets instead of liabilities. The true cost of a $740 car payment isn't $740. It's the $250,000 asset you could have owned instead. That is the fundamental truth we have uncovered today. Every dollar you send to a car lender is a dollar that cannot work for you. It is a soldier you have sent away from the battlefield of wealth building. Your defense system against this trap is the 8% transportation rule and the 15% raise rule. These are your guardrails. They keep you safe when your emotions and the shiny marketing try to steer you off the road. This is a national trap, fueled by debt, but you have the data-backed framework to escape it. Here are your immediate action steps for today. First, I want you to calculate 8% of your gross monthly income. Do it right now. Pause the video if you need to. That number is your hard ceiling for all transportation costs. Write it down. Put it on a sticky note. That is your line in the sand. If you are currently over that number, you need to make a plan to downgrade or increase your income. Second, for the short term, the next time you get a raise, log into your payroll provider and increase your retirement contribution by 15% of that raise amount. Do it before you ever see the money in your checking account. Make it automatic. If you don't see it, you won't spend it. And finally, for the long term, shift your mindset. Stop looking at cars as trophies. Start looking at them as tools. Shift your focus from financing depreciating liabilities to buying appreciating assets. That is the hallmark of the wealthy. If this framework was helpful and gave you a new perspective on your car payment, hit the like button so this information can reach more people who need to hear it. For more data-driven financial strategies just like this, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. I'm going to be breaking down more of these wealth traps in future videos. And finally, share this video with one person you know who is thinking about getting a new car. You might just save them $250,000. This content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. All data provided is from reputable sources, including Experian, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, and the IRS as of late 2024. The investment returns mentioned are historical averages and not guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified financial professional before making investment decisions tailored to your specific situation.